Yeah, hi everybody, it's Peter from Prado Places Oz. I thought it was time I did the 12-month review on my Toyota Prado, which I bought in February 2021. It's been a fantastic car. During the year I've had it, I've actually done 35,000 Ks. So it's had 3 services in 12 months, which at fixed price servicing has been around $300 a service. So it hasn't actually been that expensive to run this car. In terms of maintenance issues, I've had nothing. So apart from standard servicing, I've had absolutely nothing go wrong. But I thought we'd start at the front and we'd talk about the engine and some of the improvements that Toyota made to the previous iteration of this car. Okay, so most people will know that late in 2020, Toyota made some tweaks to the engine. They increased the kilowatts from 130 to 150, and they increased the power to 500 Newton meters of torque. One of the other problems that Toyota have been having was around this diesel particulate filter, which is right down here in the engine bay. And in earlier models, they'd had some real issues with the filter not functioning properly, clogging up and not burning off properly. Now, one thing that they did do in this model is they changed that diesel particulate filter to a new model. And I've got to tell you that since I've had this car, I haven't had a single issue with the diesel particulate filter at all. In fact, pretty much regular as clockwork, it burns off every 300 Ks, I would say. And you get an indicator on the dashboard to actually show you the status of the diesel particulate filter. And when it burns off, it shows you the bars and it counts down. So that's operating really, really well. And the other positive, I guess, about the diesel particulate filter is in the Toyota Prados, you don't actually use stuff like AdBlue. So that's a saving, and as long as the filter works properly, you've got no problem with any of the issues that they had in some of the earlier models. So one other thing to note is that the Prado has been fitted with a real heavy duty battery. I do a lot of highway driving, mainly long distance trips in this, but I've never had an issue with it not starting. The battery in it's excellent. And the other thing they've also done is put in space for a second battery. So if you want to run a dual system, you can, and they've actually put a battery tray on the other side of the car, which I'll show you now. So this is the space that Toyota have put for a second battery. So people running dual battery systems with a fridge setup and stuff like that, you've got a battery shelf already here to install your second battery. And yeah, it's really set up well for the purpose of having dual batteries. The other thing I should say about the engine bay is it probably looks pretty clean. I can tell you I've never cleaned this engine bay since I've had the car. And one of the things about having this big frontage on the car is that it stops the engine getting dirty, and because it's so far off the road as well, you don't get a lot of mud and water splashing up into the engine bay, which I found is really good. So the engine bay area looks really clean, as you can see. So this is a Prado GLX model 2021. One thing it does have is it's got headlight washers in those recessed areas there. If the lights are on and you wash the windscreen, the headlight washers actually come on and wash the headlights at the same time. So that's a really useful feature, especially if you're driving in muddy off-road situations and you've got the lights on. You can clean the headlight area very easily. So just looking at the front of the car, you've got this very distinctive chunky grille. The Toyota badge there holds the radar for the radar cruise control. And if you look through the grille, I don't know if you can see it that well, but the radiator is really set well back. I reckon that's a good 30 to 35 centimeters back behind the grille, which offers the radiator a huge amount of protection from stones and stuff that might fly up off the road from the car in front. So I think as a sort of design feature, that's a really, really good design feature. So what have I done since I've owned the car? I haven't made a huge amount of modifications, to be honest, but I will show you what I've done. It's mainly around adding a tow bar. I've changed the wheels to some different wheels, and I've also put some drawers in the back. So let's have a look at the modifications I've made, which are quite minimal at this stage. So one thing I did actually change is the wheels. Not that there's anything wrong with the standard wheels, I just wanted something a bit more aggressive looking. These are ROH Assaults. I have made a separate video about these, so you can go and have a look at that video in my channel. I'm still actually running the original tires. Now you can see these are Dunlop 80/20 Grand Treks. Let's have a look at the tread. So 35,000 kilometers on the odometer, and you can see the tread, there's still quite a bit of tread there. I've done mainly highway touring, and I have found these tires to be quite good. However, I am looking at changing maybe to a different brand of tire when I do eventually change these. In terms of the suspension, it offers a really soft ride. You've got a lot of wheel travel, and the car's extremely comfortable over the bumps. It really is. It's a pleasure to drive. Yeah, hi everybody. Just a quick pause in the video. This is a shameless advert for my channel, Prado Places Oz. If you like these sort of videos, please subscribe, please like. It's free to subscribe, it costs you nothing. Hit the subscribe button down there and help the channel out. Thanks very much. Now, another feature of this car that I really like is these very wide mirrors that you can see. If you angle them outwards, like I have them angled right out as far as they'll probably go, you really don't have any need for the little electronic gadgets that they offer, like the warning light that comes on some models. I don't have it on this model, but to be honest, I've never found I needed it. I can see really well for overtaking with these mirrors. So if I do have an area to criticize Toyota, it's probably in this reversing camera that's actually held in the spare wheel. The camera is really poor quality compared to more modern vehicles, and I really think Toyota could do more to offer a higher resolution reversing camera. It's adequate, but compared to other cars, it's quite poor. So I've added in a drawer system. It's not an expensive one. These are the Titan drawers. They're more than adequate. I didn't actually take out the floor to seat them, and at this stage I haven't had any problem. These drawer sets do have a fridge slide, and again, if you go and have a look at my separate video on the Titan drawers about the installation, you'll see how I put them in. But these are really handy, I find, for storage of my tools and odds and ends. The drawers are really good, and there's still plenty of storage space on here. Again, I found I've got no issue with storage. You can still put the back seats down as well, and that provides plenty of storage in the back of the car for whatever you want to carry. So one other thing I would actually strongly recommend, and again I've made separate videos on these things, is I did add a window tint to the front two windows. Again, I didn't do it through the dealership because of the extortionate amount of money that they charge for doing this. The rear of the car here has got privacy glass. So these back two windows are fully equipped with privacy glass when they purchase the car. But on the front here, there is no window tint on the passenger and the driver's side. So I went to a place called Solar Tint in Australia, where I actually paid 120 Australian dollars to get both sides window tinted. So let's now have a look inside the car. I mentioned earlier about the diesel particulate filter. This is actually the screen that you can select on the multifunction display. You can see there my diesel particulate filter is showing only 1 bar. That's because it actually self-cleaned itself yesterday. You can see the scale there goes up to, I think, 9 or 10 bars, but what happens is as soon as it hits 4 bars, it starts to regenerate. And I find, as I said earlier, that this does happen every 300 Ks. So also on the multifunction display, you can have a digital readout of speed. You can change it. This is just to show if you're driving economically. I don't really bother using it. But then you can see here fuel economy. So my average at the moment is 8.7, a little bit higher than Toyota say. and it's showing I've got a range still in the tank of 1216 k's. So talking about fuel economy, since I reset the gauge, I've been averaging 7.9 litres per 100 k's. So that's pretty good. It's actually less than the Toyota recommended figure. And again, if I flick this gauge again, the switch again, yeah, you can just flick through different functions. So all the functions that I've just been looking at are controlled from the steering wheel. You can see that little silver button there. You flick that up and down to move through the gauges. You've got a couple more switches here. One is for the radar cruise, where you can set the distance, and the other switch there you can see is to switch on and off the lane alert. So that's basically if you drift out of your lane, it will warn you and it will pull the car back in. I often have that turned off, to be honest, because I find it quite annoying at times. But the radar cruise on this is really good, and you can set the distance to 3 different settings. So one other thing that Toyota did in this revamp of the model is they put in Apple Carplay, which was obviously long overdue. Made a slightly bigger screen. As you can see, there's a very good display now. The other thing I like about the Landcruiser is all these buttons are really simple and intuitive. You know, you don't have loads of fiddly buttons to search for. The buttons are big, they're clear, they're simple, and extremely easy to press and to find when you're driving the car, which is the important thing. So in terms of storage space, you've got this little slot here. Now what I've done, and you can probably just see it in there, is I've actually put some felt inside these. These were plastic lined, so they just had a hard plastic shelf, and I've actually put some marine felt in all of these. So I've put it in here, I've put it in the glove box, and also on the other hard plastic surfaces where you'd normally put things, just to stop it rattling. And I think that's a really good thing. I would recommend people have a look at doing. So down here, just below the central storage unit, you've got all your 4-wheel drive controls. You've got your high-low here for low range. You've got your diff lockers, and you've got the hill assist and things like that. So this model's got both a central and a rear diff locker, which if you're off-road and stuck would probably be really useful. Haven't used it. So this is actually the top storage tray of the center console. Like I was saying earlier, I've cut some marine felt and just lined this tray. I put a lot of odds and ends in here when I'm driving, and if you put felt in here, it really does stop some of the rattles that you get. Like I have to put my keys in here and stuff like that, and I found that lining it with felt like I've done here really improves the rattles and stops a lot of noise. One other thing I have added, as you can see in the picture here, is the dash mat. I guess this is more of an Australian thing. Our son here is obviously very fierce. Toyota Prados, certainly the older ones, had a history of some of the dashboards actually cracking in our son after 6 or 7 years. The easiest way to prevent that happening is to get a dash mat, and it really does protect the dash from ultraviolet radiation that ultimately cracks the dashboard. So I've also invested in some sheepskin seat covers. I was getting a little bit of wear on the bolster of the seat. Putting on the sheepskin seat covers has made that much more pleasant and certainly extremely comfortable. Even in hot weather, the sheepskin's actually really good, I find. In terms of other instrumentation, you've got your mirror adjust here, left and right, stop start button. This little switch in the middle is actually really good because it lets you open and close the wing mirrors without the car being off. So you can actually be driving the car and you can actually close the mirrors if you so wish. Now where that will be useful is if you're 4-wheel driving, going through somewhere really narrow, you might want to just pull the mirrors in for a few minutes, and that switch allows you to pull the mirrors in whilst you're actually driving the car, which is good. Further down here we've got headlight leveling, and we've got a manual switch to wash the headlights. And we've also got this switch here, which is the manual diesel particulate filter burn. So if you're not driving long distances like I do, you might find if you're a city driver that you need to do a manual DFP burn. You press this switch and it does it automatically. And then below here, you've got the releases for the fuel cap and for the engine bay. Just on the driver's side door, you've got all the standard switches, ability to lock the doors, lock the windows if you've got kids, and obviously operate all the windows from a simple one-stop place. So I'm now sitting in the rear of the car, as you can see. I'm 6 foot and I've got plenty of leg space here to get my knees in behind the driver's seat. And I should say the driver's seat's actually right at its furthest position back. So plenty of space here for my knees, as you can see. The Prado's also got a third row of aircon. So if you're in the passenger seat, you've got your own aircon controls here. You can control the temperature separately to the front of the car or have it switched off, and you can also control this as well from the driver's center console panel, which is again really good. Aircon vents up into the roof here for the second row of seats, and you can see there's also an aircon vent up there for the third row of seats, which I've got folded down. So plenty of rear seat room, as you can see there. The seats in this car are fully back, so you've still got plenty of leg room there for your passengers. And I think that's another good family feature about the Prado, as it's a fantastic family car as well. So overall, how would I rate this car after 1 year of ownership? With the cap price servicing, it's fairly cheap to maintain. If you're not doing as many kilometers as me, and as I said, I've done 35,000 in a year, you'd probably only be doing 1 or 2 services a year. I've done 3. The cap price servicing is about 295 Australian dollars, which I think is reasonable in this day and age. I've had no other maintenance issues with the car. The tyres are running really well. I do rotate them every 10,000 Ks, which is recommended. And they do that at the service anyway. They do rotate the tyres. And I think I'm extremely happy with this vehicle. I certainly recommend the Prado. And if you're looking to buy an SUV, I'd strongly recommend that you go and have a look at the Toyota Prado and see what you think of it. See if you agree with me or not. Leave your feedback in the comments. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please do subscribe. Give a like. It helps me to keep the channel going, and I really enjoy getting the feedback from the people who write to me. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, guys.